there is no delegations tonight, so we will move on to the adoption of minutes of the previous meeting.
We resolve the following minutes be approved as presented. Regular meeting April 30th, moved by Deputy Mayor Denton, seconded by Councilor Con.
Any questions on the previous minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of motion is carried. Item 6, adoption of minutes of committees and local boards.
That the Council of the Township of North Stormont accept and approve the following committee minutes as presented. Raisin Region Conservation Authority Board of Directors Committee minutes, March 21st, 2024. North Stormont Committee Adjustment minutes, April 2nd, 2024, for information purposes. Moved by Deputy Mayor Denton, seconded by Councilor Con.
Any questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Denton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question on the minutes for the Committee of Adjustments. I can see that, I'm assuming it's this Councilor McDonald was moving a number of motions, but her name was neither in the present or the absent area of those minutes. So I just wanted to confirm that.
That's the one I missed, so that's one of them.
I don't know, but you're moving a number of the.
Is it possible that on that agenda that it was the previous meeting's minutes that you had in the did not catch it, so that we just
We're going to talk about the order.
Page 17.
Well, I missed maybe 6, but
Okay,
there on the
April 2nd minutes. The person was called to order, seconded by Councilor McDonald.
I'm not. I do that. Putting it in my calendar.
Yeah, you're in a lot of motions, so I'm assuming you're probably just doing this in council president.
Right.
And
Thank you. Actually, in that, I was not present for the meeting, I believe, and listed as present, and Luke Generally, if you're not listed as present, then he's also moved. Consecutive motion, so that should be replaced with my new Luke.
Greg, if I can get you maybe probably just to verify and maybe get those revised.
Through the chair, we will check with Annabelle.
Any further questions in regards to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Moving on to the brief or staff reports and recommendation.
Be resolved that the following monthly reports be received: Arena, CAO, Finance, Fire, Bylaw Enforcement, Building, Planning, Public Works. Moved by Councilor McDonald, seconded by Deputy Mayor Denton.
Any questions in regards to reports or with Deputy Mayor Denton?
Yeah, so thank you for adding the schedule for the school construction schedule. And it's great for now. It's just as we get more, what I'd like to see is as we get more of a plan on when things will be happening in the future, it'd be nice to see that filled out. Right now, it feels like a little bit more of a play as you go. These are the things that we know that are happening, but there isn't necessarily targets for other things coming up. And I know it's still in flux to some degree, so I'm not insisting it happen right away, but as we get more information, it'd be nice to have to see a plan from start to finish, even if those timelines have to shift.
That is through the chair, that is the plan, which is that, as you said, when I can see right now, so we can probably have more discussion with one of the reports later on.
Any other questions from the council in regards to our report? If I can add, I'm always, it seems like we're seeing that increase every time we open up for in regards to the arena. I know we're trying to work, but seeing with minor sports again, comparable to last year, we're looking at 36 additional hours in 2024 for the same period. Again, there's increase overall by so you're basically looking at the 35 hours more, which is nice to see. So, seeing no other further questions, all in favor of accepting the statute? Motion is carried. Moving on to the Dillabel municipal drain relocation.
That the council of the township of North Stormont accepts the notice of request for a drain minor improvement under section 78(5) of the Drainage Act for part of the Dillabog municipal drain from Westland Farms Limited, and further that the council of the township of North Stormont appoints Shade Group in under section 78(5) of the Drainage Act to update the Dillabog municipal drain engineer's report to legitimate the drain relocation request, moved by Deputy Mayor Denton, second by Councilor Jane.
Before I take questions from the council, maybe I can get our drains superintendent, Mr. McDonald. So Sean, if you could just maybe give us a brief outline of what's taking place, and we'll get questions.
For sure, thanks, Mr. Mayor, and to you. Bretzler Farms have recently acquired a large piece of property just east of Chrysler. There are two municipal drains that run through this parcel of land, irregular and meandering paths. They've expressed interest in relocating the existing drain and filling in the old water course under an engineer's report to enable more efficient farm use. So what they're looking to do falls from a preliminary review. It looks like it falls within the minor improvement process, which is relatively new to the province, but where an engineer would be appointed to take elevations, do a design to make sure it works equal or better than the previous system. The construction would be overseen by the township, by myself. Council would actually have the opportunity to review the report and adopt it prior to anything taking place. And this process is likely going to be eligible for grant as well for the farmers to enable them to save some of the cost. It's through OMAFRA. I guess if there's just one thing that I wanted council to make sure that they noticed in one of the GIS maps, there is an incorrect alignment of the drain that looks like I'm getting ahead of myself. That's for the Grisol. There's a drain that looks like it's running through the field that's incorrectly plotted. I did highlight that with council, but maybe we can cross that bridge when we get to the next staff report on the Grisol. Again, it's a more streamlined process for farmers to enable to do improvements to their land without having to open an engineer's report up to every single landowner in the watershed.
Any questions from members of the council?
So, thank you, Sean. On the picture, and I'm not sure whether the map is north or not, but on the right-hand side, to the area so there's an area shaded in yellow, which is the current drain. I'm assuming you're going to straighten it out, and that's the red arrow, correct?
Correct, yes.
So just to the right, near the top of the yellow, there's what looks like a bit of a drain there. Can you talk to that a little bit and describe how that fits into the plan?
Yeah, that would be like a private ditch that was on that piece of property. It's not a municipal drain. If the landowner is looking to make improvements to that section, which I'm sure they most certainly will, it would be something that they would undertake some tiling and improvements on their own, separate from this report. And they do ultimately own that land to the east, so any changes that are being made would only really affect them. So
that's Brett's property, and he may just choose to plow and through that and make it more continuous. Is that
for that little section, correct? Yes.
not part of the drainage?
No.
Go ahead, we're going.
Yeah, that was my question. One of my questions was actually the question is, since we're a minor improvement that would cost the same capacity and not causing additional erosion, so
At this point, no, because we're only here to ultimately look at adopting or accepting the request, but the engineer within their design, they would make sure that any design does not result in any capacity or erosion problems. And that would also, be through a permit through the conservation authority as well.
Okay, and then does that agree something municipal drain, do they both flow to the same point and cross the road there? Is that how that drainage is working?
Eventually, yes.
Questions of that side, so just as the suggestion here from the letter from Mr. Bressler, they're looking at retaining shade groups as their engineer. Now, do we have, is there a peer review done on, like, or is it yourself that will look to make sure that it follows the recommended path and it's done properly as Councilor McDonald was stating? So do we have somebody that will oversee what the engineer's comments or plans are?
Yes, I would be involved in the construction, and even before it gets to that stage, council would have a chance to review the report. And within several months down the road, it would come back to council to provisionally adopt it. There'd be a small appeals period, and then if it passes through appeals period, it gets a third reading, so everybody in this room would be able to see the design before it takes place. And if it's not acceptable, council does have the opportunity to refer it back to the engineer should it be necessary.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the relocation for the municipal grid? Motion is carried. Moving on to 7.3 in regard to the Breezeway municipal drain relocation request.
The council of the township of North Stormont accepts the notice of request for a drain minor improvement under section 78.5 of the Drainage Act for part of the Breezeway municipal drain for Bressler Farms Limited. And further that the council of the township of North Stormont appoints Shade Group Inc. under section 78.5 of the Drainage Act to update the Breezeway municipal drain engineer's report to legitimize the drain relocation request. Moved by Councilor Vidalia, second by Deputy Mayor Hench.
And so here again, I'll get Sean maybe on this one in regards to that line that's been plotted wrong, but you can give us the overview of the Breezeway.
Sure, right. Unfortunately, we're having issues getting the map up on the screen, but if council was able to go to the back of the package for the map. So there's GIS has the Breezeway drain incorrectly labeled going through kind of the middle of the field. I did draw out a blue line, hopefully council can see that runs, the drain actually runs on the back side of the properties in the subdivision on the farm side.
There it is, sir.
Okay, that's the
That's got the wrong one.
okay.
There you go. I got it.
Okay, excellent. The proposed new alignment would turn north, and run on Bressler property parallel to the
Is that big enough?
storm pond before turning east. Ultimately, the plan would be to fill in the existing drain as well to enable more, to be able to farm that roughly 1.7 to 1.8 acres of property in that triangle.
So just to be clear, so right in behind of where the Nation Street ends, that blue line that we see is where the original drain is, and then the yellow line would be proposing where they want to relocate it instead of going on 45. Correct. It would turn into that yellow line going around that farm that will be eventually demolished, correct?
Correct. And it's worth noting that we do have intentions to make sure that the lines are marked to ensure that the drain relocation stays on Bressler's property, does not affect the storm pond or the other property. Ultimately, make sure that it meets criteria for minor improvement, and that's part of what a proposal that Bressler's have been part of the acceptance.
And if I see some machinery in there working, is there a chance that you would relook at the existing drain behind that blue line and behind those houses? Would it be worthwhile to clean that out, or is that pretty much all intact? Or is that your call that you decide on,
It's something that we can certainly do at the same time. At this point, I haven't gotten a request to do so, but by all means,
again, it's more through your experience and understanding. I'm just saying, when you do have machinery that are there, maybe it's worthwhile just to clean it out if it's needed. If it's not needed, I'm just proposing that the common sense prevails whenever they are there doing their work. Councillor Vajali.
Just one question, with this specific drain relocation, and I'm not an engineer. But is there any issues with switching the angle to such harsh 90-degree angles? Maybe obviously during storm flow and high water times, would it lead to more erosion being at such?
excellent question, and we do see drains take 90s like this. When they do, the engineer would certainly, in the design, have riprap stone with filter cloth in behind to enable any changing flow to accommodate this sharp bend without eating out the banks and causing erosion. So to answer your question, yes, it has the potential to, but that's also what we have the drainage engineer appointed to do a proper design to make sure that no negative impacts happen out of this change.
Go ahead, Councillor McDonald.
You're saying the GIS. What is it? The latter indication or the one?
If we're able to scroll down right here, the next plan is the engineer's report. And I highlighted in yellow, like the proposed abandonment with the relocation in red. And if we can make out the dragon, it shows the regional drain running east-west, not in the alignment with the others.
So
Go ahead.
Just to follow up Councilor Jones' question in terms of the steep turns. It's kind of a two-sided question. One is, when the engineer designs it, how long does when you execute on that, how long are the deliverables expected to last? Like, is there going to be added maintenance? And to follow up on that, who pays for the maintenance? Should, because of the angle, they may have more wear and tear, but need more maintenance. So who pays for the maintenance, and is it likely to require a higher degree of maintenance than other rooms?
So future maintenance would continue to be shared in the same relative proportions under this minor improvement report. If there were concerns over future maintenance assessment component, it would have to be done under a different process. I don't anticipate it to get any worse because, quite frankly, it's in a state where it could certainly use some repair right now. Under an old system that was designed in the 70s or 80s. So with the new design standard and erosion measures in the new report, it's something that we see quite frequently, that erosion is a big thing. That I could certainly emphasize to our engineer that we want to make sure that this erosion potential is mitigated. So I don't foresee there being any increase from what's already there.
Okay, and just for education purposes, if we have you here. I know that the drain maintenance and the cost is kind of divided amongst the people who are serviced by the drain. But if a specific area like this, that is wrapping around a specific property owner's property requires maintenance, does that cost get divided proportionally across all of the users generally, or would a cost like that be apportioned to the property owner on whose land it sits?
Future maintenance costs are assessed upstream from where the work takes place. So anybody who drains into or their water outlets from your property and makes its way to the drain, anyone upstream of where this work takes place is assessed their portion of the bill. that portion is determined by the engineer's breakdown in the report. So, to answer your question, like, it depends where the work takes place. Let's say if the work takes place at the bottom end of the drain, and every single person in the watershed contributes to it, then every single person gets an assessment. If it takes place at the top end and only 30% of the owners are traded into that, only those 30% get go. So if the property is not being improved by, or it's not affecting the work, you don't get it. Sorry.
Is
the property that's right to the east, I can't see the drain, but I can remember, is that the stormwater pond for the subdivision? Is it gonna run right along the pond?
Yes.
That,
I've had talks with staff, just about any setbacks or anything. We are aware that it discharges into the drain, so we have our engineer make sure that, any depths and discharges accounted for. We're also looking at marking the line to stay back to make sure that nothing gets, affected at that storm line. So we'll have a surveyor mark out the west boundary and the north boundary of that proposed line.
operationally, the ones that they're needed to know that. They don't own, we don't own that property, that's what happens, but that's, the only way you can access, is do that whole recreation path. It's just something that the storm ponds often get forgotten 20 years down the road, they need to be dealt with. Now we just do the right on the side, but we don't own it anyway, so it's. I agree.
And I did have that concern myself, so I brought it up and it further to what you just said, it was the maintenance right away is on the other side, it's not where we're proposing to put the drain.
Any further question? See, now, so I have a quick one, just the fact that what you were mentioning to definitely their attention, so we were saying upstream, anybody touching, so in this case, when the municipality, you're right beside a town, so if there's our storm sewers that would ever, do we, in this case, become one of the occupants of that drain?
Yes, any land or even roads, utilities who own the property, anything within a drainage watershed would be assessed a portion. It's common practice that the township receives portions of the maintenance work that I do for given year.
See no other questions? All in favor of the relocation of the pre-sold drain? And motion is carried. Moving on to tax collections policy.
The Council of the Township of North Stormont receives and approves report FIN 2024-08 from the treasurer to repeal and replace the existing bylaw and policy and adopt a revised tax collection policy to be passed by bylaw. Moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, second by Councilman Fox.
Any questions in regard to, I think Kim had given us, maybe we did have a discussion, so see no further questions, all, sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mr. Mayor, it's great to help me really understand all the stuff we were talking about last meeting. The only question I have is, especially for the people who are most directly affected by some of these decisions, I think you've got roughly 40 and 12 and months planning, et cetera, et cetera. What's the process for notifying people of the process change?
I'm gonna be managing, sorry. Mr. Mayor. I'll be mailing out, letters to every resident who's on that list. Some of them do have already, written signed agreements, try to get their recoveries done, but they will stay on the 12-month plan. It's the others that will go to the 10-month or they can pay. Other than that. Sorry, the table was it was a clear table, but sometimes they don't migrate really nicely to PDF, so sorry about that.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the tax motion is carried. 7.5, so the township office renovation request for quotation.
The Council of the Township of North Stormont accepts this report and directs staff to award the contract for carpentry 01-2024 to Dale Coleman Construction Limited in the amount of $98.50 per hour plus HST. Contract for electrical 02-2024 to ATEL Electric in the amount of $241,000 plus HST. And the contract for HVAC mechanical 04-2024 to ATEL Air, Arthur Swan Electric ended in the amount of $249,900 plus HST. Moved by Councilor Vidalia, seconded by Councilor Shan.
Thank you. So seeing this, all of these be first, so the numbers are coming in my eyes, I think a little bit more, so we had set ourselves a goal to get this done. There's still much more to be done in regards to the school. This is the first start of the, so possibly before I take questions, I'd like a CAO just to have this conversation, just to clarify a few
Through the chair, the CEO is going to recommend council defeat this motion. I know that's somewhat unorthodox. And I did prepare a written format just so I can be concise and ensure I've captured everything. So the administration did speak to our solicitor, which we were provided information that the township administration should follow the advice of our engineers on our capacities for permission to withdraw the current individual tenders and review the potential to go to a general contractor. As I've said, I will recommend the council defeat the current report and engineer's recommendations for the individual contractors. And again, ultimately, council has the discretion to support the CAO's suggestions. In recent weeks, there have been unanticipated monetary costs and potential resource pressures during the 2024 summer season that will pose challenges with the township meeting the obligations as the general contractor. With this recent information, the CEO does see merit in refocusing the contractual approach. Some of these items, but certainly not limited to, but usually the high level and most important. Obtaining general contractor will omit the addition of the burden of additional insurance the township would have to obtain for becoming a general contractor, which would cost approximately $20,000. The warranty work with renovations are completed will be the responsibility of the general contractor. Certainly any deficiencies, if the administration or the township takes on that role, any remediation work after the completion would be our responsibility. So again, the recommendation is to go to a general contractor. The summer season resource limitations may be a factor that we're not currently foreseeing in the past probably 3 or 4 weeks. And the potential MOL supervisory requirements of job site may be a challenge again, the township overseeing this project. And again, I'm referring back to the summer resource limitations from the previous point. And there will be an extra cost if we were to be the general contractor to obtain the services of an external building official. So all that said, there is a section under our procurement policy, 38/2017, which is section 4C. The chief administrative officer has the authority to instruct the department head and not to award a contract, and may direct staff to submit recommendations to council for approval, and may provide additional restrictions concerning procurement where such action is considered necessary and in the best interest of the township. With the information I've provided previously, I do think this is a very prudent approach to take. Again, of course, of council's discretion. In the opinion of the CAO, with the bylaw section and with these additional items noted, there is reasonable rationale for council to defeat the current independent tender awards. Recommendation and direct the CAO to repost the RFQ for a general contractor for the school renovations. Now, admittedly, there may be some frustration with this approach. The engineer has confirmed there would be no delays for generating the general contractor RFQs to minimize the time impacts on this project. We may add another week, depending on council's direction, because there was some wiring that was not included in the original drawings, which would take another 4 to 7 days, according to the contractors, to add in, which I think would be a prudent thing to do under the circumstances. Certainly, administration will gain post publicly the general contractor RFQ on Biddingo and of course on the website. And again, the engineer suggests 3 weeks if council supports this approach. to allow general contractors to submit their bids to the township.
Perfect. So, and just maybe a final note, so if this approach was, what is our, if we had timelines previously, what would be the suggested timelines for?
The previous, date was in November to have completion. Now, again, that was optimistic on CAO's part. I think it's an aggressive timeline, but it's doable, but this would push that scale back probably into December, or early, early new year. But I suspect if we're capable of doing it, we could probably get it done by December at all.
Thank you. Any questions? So if I might add, so the intent here is we are trying to get the band in the yard, the work done, and it just seems to be the engineering aspect of the time with architects to get this. Now we're there. It's just with the numbers that we're getting here and just, yeah, so we did have discussions with some of the bids that we came in on how they proceed. So there's an avenue here that now we're kind of, myself, looking at potentially seeing the other side and getting a tender that would give us the general contractor. It's right. The inside of the school, my belief was that it's not structural, so the intent was we could have looked after, we were dealing with the bigger stuff by tender and more the internal stuff where we're dealing more with ceiling and stuff with the general contractor as us taking care of it. But now I see the numbers coming in and I think there's maybe that to go the other route. I'd like to get the information or the suggestion of the rest of council on this matter. So go ahead, Councilor Bajel.
I think it's just general comments on that. I would say it's better, more prudent for us to get this right and to do. There's no real rush to get us in. We're still looking there at the expense of I can appreciate our willingness to want to oversee the project if the capacity is there to do so, but it seems to be able to do this internally along with the liabilities that go along with that. So with that being said, I would be supportive of the recommendation of the CEO to look at the general contractor route where we know that the level of assurance that the work will be done properly, that the warranty will be in place for all such works that will be labor. I think there's a lot of boxes that we didn't take into consideration originally, but we're looking at to see if we can interpret. I believe, again, with an expense of this size, that we would bear on the side of caution and get it done right in those.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like one of those home projects you start, you open it up and you find there's way more going on. And again, this is under the assumption of you know, what we believe the work will be. There's always those added surprises. So I agree. I think, thank you to staff for volunteering to take it on in the first place, but, again, they have, usual, day jobs that they have to do. The general contractor, they'll be able to focus on it, make sure everything's coordinated, make sure nobody's passing the buck on issues that may arise. I feel, there's probably I feel a lot more comfortable with somebody kind of owning the entire project rather than us, having to potentially uncover other things that we weren't aware of. So when we started looking at the price, it's clear that there's a lot more going on here than what I originally thought might have been. But I agree. I think we wanted, as Councilor Joe said, we wanted that right. Being done fast, so I will support repeating this as well.
Any further questions? Councilor Shane.
So I completely agree with Daryl's taking this, with the insurance aspect, the liability we take it on, and warranty being followed back. We do have staff shortages, we foresee, which puts us beyond people.
So that said, how, Craig, did you want us to, do you just need direction? Do we, defeat this?
I would suggest to the chair that this motion be defeated, and then I will come back, or administration will come back with the recommendations under general contract. That's the council final.
So I said just a motion to, or, which is already moved and seconded. So basically, as the motion reads now, all in favor? Anyone against? Motion is defeated. Do you need further to move? Because I'd like to move, not delay this, so you're good to go for, making sure that we, stand up for.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. Maybe you could form the engineers tonight. Just kidding. Moving on to municipal bylaws, so bylaw number 36-2024, top up and close municipal road allowances.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 36-2024 being a bylaw to stop up and close a portion of the Flesh Road and portion of the road allowances in Township of North Stormont. Be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed this 14th day of May 2024. Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Councillor Jelly.
Before I go, I'm not quite sure what do they stand by saying stop up? Over portion on the road, what stop up stand for in regards to the statement?
That is more of an expression, it's been used, but again, it's basically the roads that had been generated under that old subdivision agreement that were actually never created. But it's a term that's used to, in all of these.
And from my understanding, I thought that was already done at the previous meeting that we had, so I was kind of surprised when I seen it on there.
So through the chair, we had to notify public for a certain amount of time before we could actually stop up and close. And this is going back to the February report, but this is what our policy was. There was a slight error in the motion before, so we put it back out. We had no comments come in from the public at all. So this was our next step, to stop up and close the actual road allowances.
Any questions in regard? I think it's.
I want to see it again.
I'm trying.
When people come back and re-explain and stuff, so I think it's not explanatory. So hopefully it's now a done deal. So all in favor of that stop up and close motion? No one again, thank you very much. Motion is carried. Moving on to bylaw number 37-2024, conveyance of municipal unopened road allowances.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 37-2024 being a bylaw to authorize the conveyance of a portion of the Flesh Road and unopened municipal road allowances in the Township of North Stormont. We read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed the 14th day of May 2024. Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Councillor Jelly.
Again, any questions on that? Seeing none, all in favor of the bylaw? Motion is carried. Item 8.3, the property tax collection policy.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 38-2024 being a bylaw to repeal and replace bylaw number 48-23 to adopt the property tax collection policy of the Township of North Stormont, read first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed this 14th day of May 2024. Moved by Councillor Jelly, seconded by Councillor Shane.
Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. And last, bylaw number 39-2024, the repeal and replace temporary patio extension policy.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 39-2024 being a bylaw to repeal and replace bylaw number 32-2024, the temporary patio extension policy under Ontario Regulation 746-21. We read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed this 14th day of May 2024. Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Jelly.
Thank you. If we can get this rain to stop, maybe we can enjoy some of these extended. Any questions on Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Moving on, as there's no unfinished business or new business, we'll move to correspondence. I'd like to know that item 12.4, which we had it labeled as Town of Goderich, should actually read Town of Grimsby. So moving to correspondence, Madam.
Be it resolved that the correspondence as listed as items 12.1 to 12.9 on the agenda be received, moved by Councilor Shane, seconded by Councilor Jelly.
If you any questions in regard, go ahead, or let me get attention.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is one resolution made by North Glengarry on amendments to the blue box regulations that I think I would like to see us put forward as well. If we haven't already done it, we're really going, but basically what the challenge here is that with the changes in the blue box regulation, where it's the supplier who's supposed to be covering all the costs and the programming to collect, it looks like they're putting an exception in there for certain types of things like industrial businesses and things like that. And fundamentally, if you have any exceptions, then we're going to have a blue box, a separate blue box collection program. And it just feels disjointed, because again, if we are going to outsource this or partner together across to do one piece of it, it'd be nice to have it all joined in one fell swoop, rather than sort of saying, okay, well, the blue box program applies to this, this, and this, but it doesn't apply to that. It just suggests that what's going to end up happening, at least this is what I'm reading through the lines of the resolution, is that it means that we're going to have one mainstream that's going to take place, but ultimately the municipality may end up having to keep a truck, keep employees in place, and kind of deal with the exceptions. It just doesn't sound like a comprehensive program. So their motion, if I read it correctly, is to say, you know, let's do it all at once. Let's not first thing apart. It's all or nothing type of thing. So I don't know if the CEO has comments.
It's through the chair, the public works superintendent could make it tonight, but yes, you're right. The townships are still responsible for daycares and businesses and public facilities. So certainly there is merit for council consideration to generate a motion and a letter to the.
So I would table that, council.
Review, no, Craig, is this something our regional waste committee are they overseeing any of this in regards to the recycling portion of it? Is it something that could be also, or is it being looked at by the regional?
Through the chair, Blake has typically sat on the working group. We haven't met as a large stakeholder group for some time with Ben's current status in active position. So I would have to defer that to Blake to see how in depth that has gotten with the recycling.
Through the chair, can you just clarify you want a motion brought back to the next meeting and the letter, or
Well,
a letter of support?
So you can take a pulse of the council right now if you want, but I think the right process will be, if you could write up a resolution for the next meeting, and then council can decide whether they're going to support it or not. But if you don't want to waste your time, you might want to just see if there's not on the table to.
Well, that's, I just want to clarify.
Oh, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Any other questions or comments in regards to the correspondence? Seeing none, moving. Oh, sorry, yeah, so all in favor of accepting the correspondence, motion is carried. Moving on to schedule of our next meeting, which will be May 16th, which is on Thursday. We're going to have our fire service committee at 6:30. On May 28th is our regular meeting at 6:30, as well as June 11th, again, for our first June regular meeting, again at 6:30. In regard, there's no closed session, so we'll move to the ratification for the bylaw.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 40-2024 being bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify council's action at its regular meeting of May 14th, 2024. Be read it first, second, and third time. Signed and sealed in open council this 14th day of May 2024. Moved by Councilor Shane, second by Councilor Jello.
Questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carried. And last, the adjournment, please.
We resolve that this regular meeting adjourned at 7:16 P.M. moved by Councilor Jelly, second by Councilor Shan.
Thank you. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, the ones on Zoom, and I hope you all have a good night. Thank you.